Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Heart to Heart Talks. Today we are very honored and we are inviting Anna from the Knotz. Is it called the Knotz or Knotz?
Knotz, just Knotz.
Knotz.
Yeah.
I mean, somehow I feel like there's a...
No, I get where you're coming from because like we have the secret patio and the secret haven, so
Yes.
naturally everyone will think that it's
The
the Knotz, but no, it's just Knotz.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Anna from Knotz, and today we'll be sharing something a little bit concerning because recently there's this whole saga which we will actually link below this video. There are a lot of couples that got affected by boutique closure, and it's a very sudden closure. A lot of people don't really know until the very week itself. So we want to share a little bit more and also let Anna share like her tips to figure out all the red flags that you should take notice if you are planning your wedding this year or next year, just to be more cautious about how you approach your wedding planning, so that you will avoid all the unnecessary issue with reclaiming back your money lah. But before we go into such a very deep topic, I just want to let Anna share a little bit of what Knotz do and share a little bit about herself.
So Knotz actually, we are just a virtual platform. So we like to work with vendors. We believe in collaboration. So many times what Knotz does is we like to collaborate with vendors and do mini wedding fairs, or also to work with them towards like doing a package with venues as well. For Knotz as well, we primarily like to focus on education. So things like teaching couples how to save more money for their wedding, how to budget, what are some of the things to look out for, which I think we will touch on later. Yeah, and also things like, you know, inspiration for weddings and what are the new trending things that's going on in the wedding industry now.
Yeah, so I if I can summarize that, I think Knotz is a very good starting point if you are clueless about where to hunt for like wedding guides and stuff. I think they are like the perfect spot to start.
Yes. So actually right now we are actually focusing a lot on content creation. So it's going to be a very fun kind of informative little snippets of things that you can learn about the wedding industry and also how to plan your wedding. And you know, we even have like this wedding itinerary timeline that you can actually download. It's all on our blog as well.
Okay, I will link everything below. Seems like quite a bit of things that you can receive, but it's a good starting point if you guys not sure. But we will go straight to the topic today. It's the how many flags we want to share? You want to say 3, 5?
Wow. I think I would just share whatever that comes into mind, which are the more obvious ones. But
Okay.
it's obvious for us, but not so much for everyone else. So I wouldn't say red flags, but what is it to look out for when you go for a wedding fair or when you actually go into a boutique to do like maybe a try on of the gowns, or maybe just to inquire about the packages that wedding boutiques have. First thing, a good bridal boutique always has a good inventory of their gowns. So it reflects very much on their cash flow, because if they're not doing well, they cannot afford to buy new gowns. If they are doing well, they can buy more gowns, which adds into their inventory, which means that you have more options as well. So if you were to go into a bridal boutique and you see that their gowns are looking a little old, a little tired, and you know the gowns don't look very trendy and they are not up to date, then that is one of the red flags that I would try and pick out on when I go to that boutique.
So for couples that don't really know the trend or like the updated gown selection, what can they ask them or what can they do about it?
I mean, the most straightforward question will be like, will you be bringing in new gowns? It's a very common question. But you know, this kind of questions, if they want to lie to you and say like, oh yeah, we have new gowns coming in, they can say that too, because why would you know, right? Yeah, but it's a very obvious thing to see if you look at the gowns and instead of white, it looks a bit yellow. Or if like you see like, you know, parts of the lace are falling off, or like the bottom of the gowns turning a bit grey, and you know, the gowns just don't look as trendy as, you know, what you see online. You can always easily browse through Instagram to see what's trending. So it's not like, and you can also Google actually, like what's trending this year or last year, and then take a look at what is in the shop. And because every time you go into a shop, you are allowed to try on gowns. If they say you're not allowed to try on gowns, that's a red flag.
Oh,
Because they don't want you to see what they have. You know what I mean?
I would guess like the second tip is, at least from what I know, is them keep postponing the appointment dates and everything that needs to be like on site, they tend to be not open and stuff. Is that true?
I mean, I have never really experienced that for myself because most of the time when you make an appointment, the appointment slot is locked in. So if they were to, like what you say, if they were to keep changing the time slot, it means firstly, as an existing customer, you're not being prioritized. Because if they already say, okay, I log in that time slot for you, that means it is your time slot. If they change it, it means that you are being replaced by someone else. Right? So it could be for a new customer that they want to sign, which means that you're not being prioritized as a customer, existing customer with them.
I think one of the things that I kind of read online was also they might be doing that also because they don't have the manpower to operate. Maybe they don't have enough cash flow to fund, and that's why people are quitting, and that's why they don't have like a frontline customer service, which also leads to slower replies. And I think that kind of snowball into it. But I also find it it's a very I would say faint hint because they might just be slow in reply in general.
Yeah, actually I feel like in the wedding industry, slow replies are quite common.
Yeah.
Because everyone is busy, you know, like you cannot expect a photographer or videographer like yourself who is already like on site to keep looking at your phone, or you cannot expect like a makeup artist to stop whatever that she's doing on her client just to look at her phone and reply. So it's actually quite common. But I do understand your point where, you know, if there is not enough manpower in the shop to actually reply you and all those sort of things, then it could be something to look out for. But it's also a little bit hard for you to actually make a decision or make an assumption based on that lah. Yeah.
So based on your opinion, what would be your next so-called issue that might be a problem?
So to be honest, just to bridge on what you mentioned just now, where you said that, oh, maybe not enough like service staff to open doors or to actually to take on appointments, right? It could be that as well. But I always feel like as a proper business owner, if you know that your staff are leaving, you step in yourself to handle it. Because I mean, for us, we own Secret Patio and we also own the Secret Haven. People leave all the time, you know, employees leave all the time. And especially in the events line, our turnover is quite high because it's actually not an easy job. Your weekends are always burned. You work long hours and then you have to sometimes handle difficult customers as well. So I kind of get it. But the thing is, when I have staff that leave, I step in and I frontline whatever that is left behind by the last customer. I don't just leave them hanging there.
I think because they for boutique stores in particular, they are like the one-stop shop to cover most of the things. So they may or may not be the expert of the certain area of the things that they are selling, which kind of leads me to, because I have a conversation previously with a couple, I think last night they mentioned about putting all the eggs in the basket. So that's where now the basket is being destroyed. They will have to restart the whole process. So knowing your risks, and if you can diversify your eggs into different vendors, that will reduce your odds of having such issue if one company goes down. I think that's a quick pointer that if you guys are planning, do take note. Actually, is more work for sure to go and seek out different vendors, but to put all into one is actually, there's a risk involved. So if you feel like you want to take the risk, then because of this issue, you guys might want to take note of that.
Yes, actually I also want to point that out. By the reason why a lot of couples actually put a lot of all their eggs in one basket is because the boutiques that do all this all-in-one kind of services, they also price it very, very cheap. So let's say if I were to find a photographer elsewhere, and a makeup artist elsewhere, and a boutique that only rents gowns or sell gowns, then the problem will be that each of these individual components will add up to a lot more rather than if I were to go to one place and get it straight from there. So from my experience, I think I was talking to some of the couples as well. One of them actually spent about $5,000, but it was for 12 hours of photography, 12 hours of videography, 5 gowns, 3 suits, bouquet, car flowers, and boutonnieres. And also, I think like 2 hours of pre-wed. So if you were to do the exact same thing and do an a la carte, right? it's definitely not 5,000. You can easily hit 10 to 15,000 already.
Yeah, I think this part of the pricing and the education is something that is a bit lacking in the industry and also lacking in the like be able to actually tell the couples the price anchor ranges. Is couples that would want to actually do a little bit more homework before committing into any of the vendors, be it boutique or be it single vendors, because the pros and cons are not just for convenience, but it is also like something that you want to have a reality check, because knowing that the a la carte prices are like that, if you see something that is too low to be true, is most likely something that spell red flags lah.
Yeah.
So just be careful when you are seeking out for the prices.
Yes.
Which also kind of leads me to another point. Is there any way couples can be more vigilant in when they start out finding prices and getting all the rates, a brochure, and talking to vendors? What can they do to protect themselves from such things happening?
I think firstly, if let's say the boutique says, why don't, if you can sign today, I'll give you another additional, don't know how much discount off. Or like the way they actually tell you to put money down. If it sounds desperate, if it smells desperate, then it is probably desperate. It's normal to put down a deposit. However, by asking you to put down a whole amount for an additional X amount of discount, try not to take it up, because it could just mean that they have cash flow problems and they need all the money right from the start lah. Yeah. So these are just like some tips that I would like to give couples. Firstly, if it's too cheap, avoid. Wedding gowns are generally around $800 per gown to rent, and that is on the lower end. Things like gown connoisseur, those are around the 800 to 1,000 range. Anything below that is probably like, if you get like a third or fourth gown with them, then it might be about $500 per gown additional. Photography, videography, I'm quite sure you're in the industry, you should know better than me. Photography already starts from $250 per hour, starting. Okay, anything lower, maybe 200 still acceptable, but anything lower than that is a bit of a red flag. For venues, don't need to say lah. Venues can't go wrong. Yeah, but in terms of other vendors, this is kind of like the cost breakdown lah.
Yeah, I think we will also list down the average price for just now everything that Anna have listed lah, to just be just in case you missed out some of the things that have been mentioned. I think it's good to, and from there, right, you can also seek out, maybe for every part of your wedding day, you can just seek out maybe one or two vendors, just ask them for the prices, which is actually quite easy. Just email them, they most likely will reply you with the rates.
Yes.
You can kind of see the average cost plus minus. Even if it's a swing, the swing won't be as big as some red flags boutique stores actually provide lah. From there, you kind of already have had kind of a sensing. I think it's the price anchoring that is something that couples don't know. Because maybe they go to the first boutique store, then they feel like, oh, okay, that is the normal price.
Yeah.
Then when they go to, like if you can spend the time to go to different wedding fairs, which actually Knotz have a couple within these few weeks, they actually have vendors that also provide their rates and brochure, and you kind of already can ask them for prices and see what will be the norm before committing to anything. I think it's the expectations lah, and not just like heading into a boutique store and just like get the price.
Correct.
Anything else that you want to kind of like give a last minute tip to the couples that are doing the wedding planning this year or next year?
Actually, wedding fairs are not bad, I would say. And I know a lot of couples who are affected would be very scared of the idea of going to another wedding fair, which I would totally understand, especially if word goes out and then more people are, aware of it. But wedding fairs are inherently not bad. You just need to do your research before going to the wedding fair. Definitely look for reviews. Although I sometimes feel like reviews are a little bit more half, because like this just insider lah, which probably we should share as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes boutiques would tell customer, hey, give me a good review, I'll give you more discount, or give me a good review. If they will actively ask for people to write reviews for them. So usually, unless it's something absolutely terrible, then they won't ask lah. like they're not gonna ask a couple who's like had a really terrible experience with them and say, hey, go and write a review, right? They only ask the couple that like had a more seamless experience with them to write a review. And those will definitely supersede any negative reviews. So I feel like nowadays Google reviews are a tiny bit skewed already. If their reviews, right, this is a tip. If their reviews are like one-liners, two-liners, that kind, then it's probably no hard reviews lah, I feel. If the reviews is like, you know, naming someone, saying, oh, this person did such a great job, I had a very good experience, you know, I actually encountered a problem, however, it was rectified very fast. They were very proactive, they responded very quickly. Then I think that is a review that you should look into, and that is something that you should accept. But if the review is just nice shop, full stop, or like nice dresses, full stop, or like I had a like this boutique has a good variety of gowns, full stop, then it's probably not a very legitimate review, I feel. Yeah, so definitely look at the reviews, and if they are nice long essays, good. If they are just one-liner, two-liners, not so good.
Yeah. But take it as a pinch of salt, because everybody's experience are very subjective. It might be through an incident, or it might be through a seamless experience that you may or may not experience it, because it's just how human works, right?
Everyone is different. Everyone has different sets of expectations as well. So, you know, you can treat every customer the same, but if their expectations doesn't align with yours, then they might not feel like, oh, it's as good as advertised.
Yeah, so it's definitely one way you could look at it, but don't take it as like the end all be all, like that's the rule of thumb, that kind of thing. But I think we hopefully we share like all the different pointers and all the reflex that you guys can kind of have a better clarity when you are doing your preparation work into engaging your ideal vendors or venues, and hopefully this whole process open up a whole new opportunity for you to be more aware that there are actually such instances that happens, and hopefully you can avoid all these like pitholes. Yeah, but thank you so much, Anna,
No
for
problem.
spending your little afternoon with us. Yeah.
Happy to do so.